And a gracious good afternoon or whatever time it is you're watching this. This is Mainstreet. I'm Geoffrey Mark, filling in for my buddy Gary Allen. So if you're watching us live, happy day after Thanksgiving. I guess if you're not watching us live, you're watching us dead. It doesn't matter. No, if you're watching us on the platform much after we do this, we wish you a happy whatever it is you're doing right now. I have two wonderful guests coming on today. They're both friends of mine. They're both great looking. They're both very, very talented. And they're both very, very funny. First half hour, my guest is going to be Joyce Bulifant. My second guest, second half hour, will be Bob Bergen. Who are these people? Well, let me tell you about Joyce first. Joyce and I have been friends, 20, 25 years, maybe a little bit more. Joyce is a Broadway star, a television star, a game show icon. She has been married to some of the most interesting men in Hollywood. She has many children, both of her own and step. She's a delightful human being. And the reason we're starting this just a little bit late today is because one more time, we had some technical problems. You know, it's a funny thing. I'm really enjoying these technical problems. It reminds me of the days of early live television where no one knew what was going to happen. And we've had this several weeks in a row now. Joyce is with us. I don't have to waste time. I'm just telling you, as someone who's done this an awfully long time, I'm kind of enjoying the challenge. But let's not waste any time. I want you to know a friend of mine whom I adore, whom I have worked with, and who has lots of wonderful stories to tell. Would you please welcome, drum roll, please, my friend and yours, Joyce Boulefant.
Well, thank you for that lovely introduction.
Well,
I can hardly move from turkey and everything last night. And then my son John, who was helping technically, made two gorgeous apple pies. And we hid one. We hid one so we'd have it for breakfast, which we just had.
If there's any left over, can I come over and have some? I love apple pie.
I'm afraid it's all gone. We ate it all up.
Well, you know what? Let's start with John, because John is a good starting off point about your story. So John kind of has more than one father, kind of, sort of. And one of whom was a very, very close friend of mine. The other one is someone I knew. I have embarrassed you publicly before how much I think of you because of the kind of wife and mother you are. You're brilliantly talented. God gave you just good looks and talent, and you've had this wonderful long career. Pshaw. But I admire you because of the kind of wife and mother. So let's start with John, who is very talented boy.
And my youngest son.
Yes, and not a boy anymore. I'm flattering both of us. He's what, middle-aged almost at this point?
He is. How is that possible? The
youngest one is... know.
Oh God, it's weird.
My youngest is 37, and it's like, how did that happen?
Well, John is going to be 51 next month. No, not next month, in January.
Go on, 51.
I know. Which makes me 71. I'm quite elderly these days. It's really hard to believe because I don't
and yet
feel
you look so wonderful.
Well, it's all about lighting, love. All about lighting. I mean, I get dressed in the morning in my bathroom and I say, not too bad. Not too bad for your age. And I go outside and I open the compact and look at me and go, that's not the same person that was in the bathroom. Because the sunlight tells all.
Yeah, I get up and look in the mirror and go, I can fix that with makeup and lighting.
I was sitting with the children at breakfast this morning going, now if I just did a little bit of this and a little, and they said, don't you dare. But I got these wrinkles right here that really bother me because I sleep like that. So it's made lovely indentations. That's okay.
I'm lucky I sleep on my back. I don't get that on my face. But the
Well, you
back of my head is all wrinkled
are or flat.
and flat. Yeah, I've been called a flathead too.
No.
We've been skirting around John. Tell the folks what John does for a living, by the way.
John is a writer, actor, director, producer. He's a quadruple threat. And he's
Well,
got a wonderful new script that he's uh, going to be directing. I'm very excited about it. It's very good, but I can't say any more than that.
well, he
But
comes
it's
by the
exciting.
hyphenations. He comes by the hyphenations naturally, doesn't he?
He does because his biological father was a composer and an actor, and
Talk about him.
his
Let's talk about him first.
Ed Mallory. He
Ed
was on Days
Mallory.
of Our Lives.
Yeah,
He played Dr. Bill Horton.
there seems to be this cosmic connection between me and Days of Our Lives. I think the
Really?
last 6 shows, somebody has been on Days of Our Lives
Oh, it's
through the
amazing.
years. But Ed Mallory was one of the original stars of Days of Our Lives. He started
Mhm.
with the show right from the beginning, and a good, I would call him a good journeyman actor and a
Yes.
composer.
And he
And
was a Shakespearean actor too. So he
yes,
had good training in that way. But that is John's biological father. But William Asher really raised John, and they became really father and son.
and Bill Asher and I,
So
as you
I
know,
got
were very, very, very close friends.
to,
For those of you who don't know who we're talking about, William Asher, besides being married to several lovely women, yourself included, was the producer and director of Bewitched. He was the co-producer, director, and sometimes co-writer of the Beach Blanket movies. He directed I Love Lucy. He was I Love Lucy's best director. A very long, very, very award-winning. The man was brilliant
he did the
career.
Kennedy inaugural too. He
Yes,
did
he
the
did.
he directed that. You know, when we got married, we only knew each other 3 months, and it was "Here Comes the Bride" and 8 children down the aisle. And we were married for 20 years, and we had a wonderful, exciting life once we got on the right track. The beginning was very difficult, and we were separated 6 months after we were married. But then we got John is being silly. I can see you. Can you see John
Of
dancing
course,
around?
everybody can
Yeah,
see John.
he's so bad. My children are so naughty. Anyway, he after the separation, we both worked things out. We both bent. We both kind of got out of our comfort zones and into each other's, but we didn't bend so far that we either one of us broke. And we
Right.
really made that marriage work. And I was fortunate enough to be the stepmother to Elizabeth Montgomery's children, whom I adore like my very own, and the also the children of Bill's first wife, Danny. And I we have this giant family that I call the United Nations of families. We have everything, every kind of difference in the world in each child and each parent, and we all love each other and get along. And
Well,
it's
allow me to add on to that. Why I admire you as a human being so much, because for our friends who are watching, so you have Bill Asher had two
fun.
ex-wives when he
Yeah,
married you. You had two or three ex-husbands when you married Bill,
too.
and there are two. So you each had two, and then there were children from these marriages. And what you did, which I think that should be your next book, how to do this. I think you
Oh,
should sit down and write a book about how to raise children when there is multiple parents involved, because you would have holidays like Thanksgiving or Christmas or what have you, and you would invite everybody's children, the exes, their new playmates and spouses, all under one roof, so that children never had to choose between parents. They could bond as step siblings together.
and they have.
And and I've never known anybody else who did that as well as you, as inclusive as you, as lovingly as you.
That
That's
is so
why,
kind. Oh, that's so kind of you to say. But you know
well,
what? I
because
think,
I know everybody involved. I've met the
yeah,
ex-wives and I know all the husbands. I've met several of the children,
yeah,
and they all turned out to be blessings to the family. They're blessings to their good citizens. You've raised good citizens with
they,
love in their heart, and
I think they brought a lot of that in with them when they were born too. Sometimes it's harder for others, but I think a lot of that just comes from their own soul and spirit. And if I could nurture it, that made me happy.
you've written a book. You have already written a book
I've
about
got it
these
right here.
experiences. Would you please hold it up? And My Four Hollywood Husbands
Yeah, yeah.
is now available as an audiobook. Is that correct?
It is. Yes, I did the audio, and I had told the children before it was published, I said, please read it and let me know if there's anything in it that you'd rather I not share. And it won't be there if you don't. And none of them, one child said, I wish you hadn't had to go into this part, but I understand. And she didn't say take it out.
Right.
And I wrote it because it was going to be a completely different book. When I started writing it, it was going to be called Home Sweet Home, Where Is It? Because
You
on my
you do
50th birthday, I sat down and I went through how many houses I could remember I lived in, and it was 50.
you do move a lot, young lady.
I know, and I always get blamed for it. It's not always me. I mean, Bill Asher one time wanted to move because the tennis court didn't angle exactly as he wanted it. That wasn't my fault. But you get rid of a lot of things, and the children get a new adventure. and, and Bill was always at work when we had to move. So, but one son would call and say, I know you invited us to dinner tonight. Are you still in the same address?
Let's go through the Four Husbands. Let's try and whet the appetite of our friends who are watching. It's a wonderful book. I've read it more than once, and but just so we get it right. Let's start. So husband number one was,
James MacArthur.
you get 10 points for that.
Oh, thank you. I wondered.
Well,
Am I right? I'm right.
you are right. I'm laughing and she's laughing because several years ago I hosted a panel for the first annual Palm Springs Comedy Festival. We had Joyce and my dear late Dawn Wells and Ruta Lee and Alison Arngrim. And I wanted to get the book, out there for you. And we started with the husbands, and Joyce couldn't quite find all four names that morning. I had to fill in names for her. It's a good thing I knew all of your husbands because
So funny.
I knew James the least. Um, Son of Helen Hayes, probably best known for being on Hawaii Five-O. Uh, Great looking boy.
Bookham Dano. Yeah, we went to we were in boarding school together. It was a co-ed boarding school, but it was a mile apart, the boys' campus and the girls. But we had classes together, and we were in the same class. And we met when we were 14,
Wow.
and I thought he was terrible. He was mean. But then my boyfriend, who was 2 years older than I, broke up with me, and I was very sad. And one day Jimmy said, hey, I'm sorry Michael broke up with you. You want to go out? He said, okay. And that was the beginning of that. And we were married when we started dating when I was 16. And we got married when we were 20. He was a week older than I. I always told him when he was born, I said, God made me to look after you. And I came along a week later. But sadly, that marriage only lasted 9 years. And happily, we have two wonderful children, Charlie and Mary. And
Could not.
Mary,
Oh, yes. Let's say hello.
okay. Mary, come here a minute, please.
I'm assuming Charlie was named for his grandfather?
This her grandmother, her great grandmother is Helen, and her great grandfather is Charles MacArthur,
Yes.
who wrote The Front Page and all kinds of plays with Ben Head.
Hello.
Just say hello.
I'm all icky.
You're not.
Hello.
That's my Mary.
Hello. Oh, I was hiking. Hi.
Nice to see
meet
you. You're
Hi, nice to
beautiful
see
like
you.
your mother.
Oh, you're sweet.
She is pretty.
You can't see I look weird right now.
Oh, you
No,
don't
you
look
you,
good.
you look beautiful. No,
Yeah.
no. You don't need
You just look a
anything
little
to
bit
look better.
alike.
You look
A lot
There
alike.
we go. See, that's a forever picture.
oh,
Yeah.
It could not have been easy having Helen Hayes as a mother-in-law.
It was at sometimes the most wonderful thing in the world. She was like, I called her mom. And other times when it was very difficult. I like to say I do a show called Remembering Helen Hayes with Love. And it's with all the letters she wrote to me and the ups and downs. We had a very, very close relationship. And I mean, she really was a mom to me. And I open the show and I say, everybody says, what was Helen Hayes really like? And I said, I can explain it with this poem. There was a little girl who had a little curl right in the middle of her forehead. And when she was good, she was very, very good. And when she was bad, she was horrid. And Lillian Gish used to say to me, her best friend, she said, oh, darling, don't worry about Helen when she gets that way. It's just the Irish in her.
I adored Miss Gish. We were friends in New
Oh,
York when I was a young man, and she was a mentor
yeah.
of mine.
An angel on this earth, she was.
Absolutely. So Edward Mallory is your second husband,
Yes.
and that did not work out, unfortunately.
I
And
know.
then my dear buddy Bill Asher was your third husband,
20 years.
20 years.
I was very
And
much in love with him. It's interesting. I wear this little diamond that Bill gave me, and around that, I wear my wedding band that I wore married to Roger.
and
And
then
they would,
Roger, yes.
yes.
And Roger Perry, who was a wonderful man also, who I loved, uh, finished off the husbands, at least for now.
Oh, please. Oh dear. I don't think I could take another one. It's nice having gentlemen friends, gentlemen callers. I'm going to be doing the Glass Menagerie in February here. And I
Really?
feel like the Amanda in the Glass Menagerie talks about her gentleman callers. And she's very southern.
Where will you be doing that? For our friends who live in the Coachella Valley in Southern California, where can they see you perform that?
I think it's going to be at the Camelot, but we'll have to talk again so you can promote it. And
I
I think
will.
it's going to be February. It's not written in stone quite yet, but I
All right.
always want to do that role.
I will be there with bells on to lead the applause for you, young lady.
Thank you very much.
And you've done Broadway, and you sing. You once were rehearsing "I Do, I Do" when you had an apartment with Roger in L.A. and you did Flaming Agnes for me, and you were brilliant doing that.
That's very sweet. We did that a lot. We did a lot of fundraising doing shows. We did every 2-character show. Oh, something very exciting. When we ran it, we were raising money in Colorado for a children's advocacy center. And we had to raise $90,000, and that's hard in a little town.
Yes, it
Just
is.
the two of us. And the Rotary Club was very helpful there. And we finally did raise the money. I talked the county into building a little cottage for the children. And when we moved from Colorado to come here, we gave the center all of our furniture. So it looked like coming to grandma's house for the children who needed that help. And then when we ran out of 2-character plays, we decided to write one. So we wrote a musical together one summer called The Grand Old Dame. And it's about the first wonderful big hotel in Glenwood Springs, where Molly Brown stayed and Roosevelt stayed and Tom Mix and Al Capone. And we always said, God, what a great musical this would make. And we just sat down and wrote it with a love story involved. And I think that they're going to do it either next Christmas or the Christmas after at the Rancho Mirage Theater.
Well, another place I'm going to have to show up.
Yes, you are.
Remind our friends the name of your book again, please. Hold it up.
Oh, yes. My 4 Hollywood Husbands. There
And
they
that
are.
can be found at bookstores and online to get the
Really,
audio.
Amazon and for the audiobook especially. And
I heartily recommend it because the book is an awful lot of fun. Now, of course, I know everybody you're talking about personally. So for me, it was like, that friend and that friend. But the only thing I can imagine being more fun than that is to hear your voice doing that.
well, I hope do you know what? I haven't heard it yet. John directed it,
Yay.
and he had not read the book. And I got to some parts, and he said, "What? What? Why didn't you tell me about that? You didn't ask."
You must be very proud of Rebecca for the
Oh,
directing she's doing.
goodness, yes. She's directing like crazy. And she worked on a lot of movies with John before she became a director. And she's just working all the time. But who couldn't love Rebecca? She's the best.
One
And then
of the
son Billy's making Asher guitars, and all
yes.
the wonderful people are using his guitar. And then Robert is an incredible artist, and he does a lot of the what not engraved but in the wood of the guitar. He does designs and things, and it everybody is terrific. And Leanne and Brian from Bill's first marriage are they. What's wonderful is these children have learned how to create a wonderful family nucleus. They're all so close with their families, and it just thrills me. It thrills me because I got Billy out of a class where he was having trouble learning, and got him into a small school within a school where he took wood shop, and then I bought him his first guitar. So put that together, and now he's a famous guitar maker.
One of these weeks, I would love to have your 2 directing Ashers come on as guests with me and talk
Oh,
about
that'd
their
be
exciting
great.
projects. I
Yeah.
think our fans and friends out there would slap me if I didn't give you just a couple of minutes to talk about the match game and the game shows that you did,
Oh dear.
because you were hysterical on those shows.
I didn't mean to be. It just the way it is.
That's why it was hysterical, because your answers were so far off the wall.
Okay, I'm dyslexic, so you have to forgive me. A lot of times I couldn't spell what it should be. So I had to make up something I could spell because I was embarrassed. And one time it was stethoscope. Can you believe? And I remember it so well. And Gene would come by, and you'd have to take the card up and show it to him. And I thought, oh, I know I haven't spelled this right, and I don't know what to do. And I was so nervous, and I thought, well, I had it all planned. If he comes by, I'll go stethoscope like that and get it right back in there. So he came by and went stethoscope like that, and I went shoo, and he walked by, and then he stopped, waited a beat, turned around, came back and said, "How did you spell that?" And I went, "Oh, shoot." And then he held it up for all the world to see. And it was just, he would never know it. Of course, it was a devastating moment for me. But that's a case of kind of trying to make, I guess, lemonade out of lemons, because I couldn't spell it, and I just had to think of other things that were sort of close, but they weren't it.
People don't realize it's a lot of work to do a show like that.
Oh, yeah.
Match Game, iconic. Gene Rayburn is the host, the original Match Game, both on NBC and CBS. The one on NBC, I don't know if you're on the NBC one, but the CBS one, uh, they were shot 5 in a row in one day, which means that you had to do 5 of those, 5 sets of answers, 5 sets of makeup, 5 sets of costumes, and we got people talking at us here. I should look at the comments. I apologize, folks. Gary Allen, our host, says hello, Geoffrey and Joyce. And Gary Richard Collins II says, hi, I'm from Ypsilanti. I guess that's Michigan. What was it like being married or being buds with the late Billy Asher of Bewitched fame? Being buds with him, never a boring moment, brilliant mind, very funny, very self-indulgent. One of the closest friends I've had on this planet. Being married to him,
It was a joy because of his sense of humor. You know what? He gave me more confidence than I've ever had about writing. I mean, he would ask me sometimes when he was working on a script about a line and did I think it was funny, or if I came up with a suggestion, he'd actually use it. And it just we had a great respect for each other and admiration. And he learned to be a father. He wasn't that involved with the children, which was part of the reason that we didn't get along at the beginning of the marriage. And I said one of the ways he bent was to be more involved with the children. And one of the ways I bent was to move from where we were to a house he wanted to go to. And then another way was I said, I can live in that house, but you have to build a wing on for the children. They can't live in those cells that you have them in. Because I had a fear of there being a mudslide there. I just had this fear that the hill was right next to the hill that it could come in. And guess what? It did.
I know.
That's part of the book, I believe.
It
Sometimes
is.
I can't remember what I lived or what's in the book.
Well, please tell John and Rebecca I really want to have them on the show.
I
And
will.
you and I need to have dinner together, young lady. We live in the same town, for heaven's sakes.
Oh my
And I,
goodness, that's
well,
right.
so let's do something before Christmas, you and I, and any of the children who'd love to join us.
Thank you very much.
I
Thank you.
love you, Joyce. Have
Love to
happy
you.
happy holidays,
You
and
too.
I look forward to our next conversation.
I do too. Take care.
Bye bye. I love that lady. She's exactly what you see. Just as you see her, that really is how she is. What you don't see is how smart she is. Not just smart, but wise. She's such a wise woman. That's why her kids are so well put together, because she's wise in the ways of people. So happy for Joyce being here. Now, take your etch a sketch and go like this. Okay. Erase, 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 erase. Now we have a brand new flat screen here for my next guest. How can you not love Bob Bergen? Besides being ridiculously good looking and brilliant and God giftedly talent, I mean, the man is Porky Pig, for heaven's sakes. He's an advocate. He works with his union. He's a mentor. He helps people, and maybe one of the workingest people in show business. I've been trying to get this man on the show for weeks and weeks and weeks. This is the first day he had like an hour or a half an hour to share with us. I am so glad he's here. I love him, and you're going to love him. My buddy, the incredible Bob Bergen.
Well, first of all, I was just having so much fun listening to Joyce. That was just delightful, and she sounds like a cartoon character. But you're right. She's about as nice as you expect she's going to be.
That's who she is. Not very many people in show business, they have a public persona, and then they have who they actually are.
Yes,
that's her.
Yeah.
What you just saw is Joyce. And, there are all these children from 4 husbands and their ex-wives, and they all adore her, which tells you all you need to know about this lady.
And, I think you and I are very similar in that we have a lot of friends in the business, but we're not going to be friends with somebody who comes across as that plastic phony baloney. I did a fundraiser with Roger and Joyce a few years ago in Palm Springs, and I was starstruck because I was the kid who would come home and watch Match Game, and I was like, oh, I hope she's the same. And by golly, she was exact. I just wanted to pull a card up with it with an answer. And she was
You just had dinner the other night with my dear friend and publicist Harlan Bowl.
yeah. Harlan's the best.
That circle gets smaller, and as we get older, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller.
The 6 degrees become 2, become 3, become 1, become 80. I mean, it is the most incestuous group of people.
We're very, very, very lucky to be a part of that.
Great.
I mean, we are, for the most part, never mind 6 degrees, we're 1 degree. If I needed, I won't ever do this, but if I needed to contact the president of the United States, it's maybe 2 phone calls.
Wow, and there you go. Okay. All right.
Or the governor or the mayor or whomever.
That's convenient.
Well, but you too. You're being lovely about me too, but you too, maybe even more than I, because you know everybody in show business at this point. When did you get started, Bob? What year? Do you remember?
I got my first job in 1982, which was a cartoon for NBC called Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. But I'd been studying acting and voiceover for 4 years before that.
Why you? There are so many people out there, and I know you hear this all the time. Oh, I coulda, woulda, shoulda, or I want to be. Now, with camera acting or stage acting or television acting, we could spend an hour going through a litany of what you really have to go through where maybe you can become successful. Voice acting is its own separate world, its own set of rules, its own set of people. Mm-hmm. So when I ask you why you, obviously because you are just giftedly talented and have a brilliant mind, and I adore you as a person. But why? Why do you think you, as opposed to 10,000 wannabes, have become top of the heap of the voice world?
Well, thank you, by the way, that was very sweet. A lot of it is tenacity. I was and I still am. I was a very disciplined kid. I'm a very disciplined adult. I knew exactly what I wanted. I was fearless. I didn't think it was unusual to be a 14-year-old kid and pick up the phone and call Mel Blanc or crash a recording.
Yeah.
Or, back then there was a magazine, a trade called Dramalog, where I found voiceover classes. And my parents, we had a rule. I had to keep a C average. They'd pay for my classes. But I think my parents also saw that I was extremely passionate about this. And, I'm always trying to improve. I'm always trying to do the next thing. And people say, what's been your favorite job? And I'm always like, I don't know if I've done it yet. My favorite job is possibly next year or 2 years down the road. But I've also been really, really lucky, Geoffrey. I mean, I've been very fortunate to have had really good mentors in my career who handheld me, introduced me to my first agent, taught me. So it was a combination of all kinds of things, from tenacity, discipline, and this is a business about luck. Right time, right place, right connections. You might be a trust fund baby with more money than God, but if you don't have drive, if you don't want this more than anybody else, if you don't have the skills, it doesn't matter where you come from. But man, everybody wants to work with that next great thing because it's exciting to say, look who I'm presenting to the world, be it a voice actor or a writer or a musician or a fine artist. Talent is intoxicating.
It is. That's about the best answer. I've said similar things, but I think you just said it best.
Thank you.
Is Porky your favorite character ever, or are there other voices you've done that you enjoy doing more?
Definitely my favorite character. I mean, I got into business. I started taking a class because that's what I wanted to do. So now, I always tell my students that I don't recommend that, because if you want to get into a business, like you want to be an actor, you want to be a voice actor, that's great. You want to play a particular character. I mean, if your goal in life is to play Hamlet on Broadway, well, there's a lot working against you. First of all, how often is Hamlet going to be on Broadway? Are you going to be of the caliber of celebrity that would carry the box office marquee, etc.? I wanted to be one character. In fact, I'll tell you, I was working in the business. I was already a working actor and doing quite well when Mel Blanc passed away. And I started auditioning for the Looney Tunes, and I had 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a dozen callbacks. And towards the end of that process, I said to my agent, if I don't book this, I might quit the business. And she was representing me doing a whole bunch of stuff, getting 10%. And she said, whoa, 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 why? And I said, because this is why I got into the business. I got this opportunity, and this will make me happy. But if I don't get it, I'm not sure if I'm going to be as happy doing just voiceover work. And what people don't understand is that Looney Tunes is probably, depending on the year, but most of the years, it's way less than 50% of my annual income. The majority of the work I do is other stuff. I mean, there's no credits on a commercial. There's no credits on a promo. There's no credits on a documentary narration unless you freeze frame because they go by so fast. But the bottom line is I'm an all-purpose voice actor, but this is why I got into the business. So long-winded answer to your question, it is my favorite character.
How many through the years of just the different Looney Tunes have you voiced?
Oh,
how many characters?
Well, and there's a pool of us that have shared the characters. But Porky, Tweety, Marvin the Martian, Speedy Gonzales, Hubie, Birdie, Barnyard Dog, Sylvester Jr. Those are the 8 I can think of off the top of my head. And we'll finish this conversation. Oh, I forgot so and so, but Henry Hawk, the Chicken Hawk. There we go. See, but primarily the ones I've done the most would be Porky or Tweety.
Do you feel taking over somebody else's work where someone has established a voice? In a way, it's kind of thankless because the best you're going to hear is, "Oh, you sound just like Mel Blanc," as opposed to, "Wow, you're so damn talented," which is the truth. Does that ever bother you that there's like that glass ceiling that it's Mel? You can't break through Mel's memory.
Oh, Lord, no. I mean, first of all, I've been doing this a little over 30 years. I don't come close to sounding like him. I don't come close to his genius. That he was these characters. My goal every time I hit the microphone is to keep the integrity of the character. I never think, boy, am I sounding like Mel? Am I doing it like Mel? I can't do it like Mel. If you listen to us back to back, we don't sound a thing alike. Now, that said, the character evolved over the years, even when he did it. He wasn't the original voice of Porky Pig.
No.
The guy Joe Doherty was, and he actually stuttered. And then Mel took over, and over the years, the character would evolve. So when I work for a new production or a commercial, or I'll say to the director, what do you want from me? Do you want Mel from the 50s? Do you want Mel from the 40s? What are you looking for? And it goes over their heads most of the time because they don't even think it. They just think they want the character.
Right.
The difficult thing for me is, you can go back to old references of Looney Tunes cartoons, and it's pop culture from 1935, pop culture from 1955. Well, since I've been doing this since 1990, we're putting these characters into contemporary situations because Mel never had a character on a computer using an Uber on a cell phone, dating apps, etc. So to me, that's the hard part, is marrying I'm trying to keep on screen, marrying the contemporary with keeping the integrity of the original character.
And yeah, and likewise, none of your cartoons didn't have a sign, someone holding up a sign saying, "Is this trip necessary?"
Exactly.
Because
or I didn't say Richard, and I remember being a kid going, "Who's Richard?" But it was a song. It was a song of the time, and it's a pop culture reference, and we have pop culture references in some of the show. We did a show called New Looney Tunes, where the designs were a little bit different, but very, very well written with a lot of contemporary pop culture references. And now we're doing Looney Tunes cartoons on HBO Max, which look like they're from 1940. And feel like they're 1940. You could put them back to back with old Looney Tunes cartoons, and you can't really tell the difference. Full orchestras, beautiful backgrounds, um, and they're timeless. So they don't necessarily have today's pop culture references. There's a few peppered here and there, but for the most part, they're evergreen.
How much of what you do, we're getting to a technical thing, or this is just something I'm interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Mel, when asked, when pressed, would admit that for some of his characters, they electronically speed up or slow down his voice
Yeah.
to get that sound.
Yeah.
Are they using the same sort of thing when you do things, or are you able to do the keep the character in character using your own voice, or do they help you out a little bit?
Yeah, both. It depends on the producer. So Tweety is definitely sped up.
When I do Tweety, he sounds like this. And when you speed him up, he sounds like Tweety.
For my ears, I think my Porky sounds better unsped. If you want to hear my Porky sped, check out the movie Looney Tunes Back in Action. He's also sped too much. And I heard it in the theater. I was like, this is why I don't like watching my own work, because I'm a control freak and I'm not in control of which take they used, how they edited it, what joke they took out, and how they post-productioned the speeding.
When I do Porky, it's just in real time.
I think it sounds better to my ear to do it real time, but not my say. I'm not the producer. I'm not distributing. I'm not. So yeah, it depends on the project.
Now, you do something close to my heart. You mentor young people,
Mm-hmm.
Both for money and because you're a lovely human being. How did that get started for you?
Well, I did. I was a Jewish big brother for about 25 years for two kids, and that started because I had a mom who was a professional volunteer, and I saw the value of giving back. I was mentored by people in this business, and I just really wanted to be able to give back out. I mean, it's very easy to write a check. Writing a check is not a bad thing, but it's very simple to do that. But offering your time, I think, has so much more value. It's there forever. I just loved it. I didn't go into teaching because I wanted to teach. I went into teaching because I was asked to, and I actually turned it down. In fact, I was studying with Dawes Butler at the time.
Another icon.
Right. And the school wanted me to teach on Wednesday nights, which was Dawes Butler's night. And I was like, I can't. I'm still in Dawes's class. And Dawes said to me, "Oh, you should go out and do that. Go, have fun." I said, "Well, what? No, I don't. What if I'm terrible? Oh, you can come back." And I never studied with him again because I just started teaching, and he passed away not too long after that. But yeah, I never sought out teaching, and it's become one of the joys of my life. I really do enjoy finding the next generation of talent and giving them the tools I've been blessed with, and adjusting for today's market and today's because the animation industry has changed a lot since I got into it. But there's some really good talent out there, Geoffrey.
And you're at the top of the heap. So you are okay. So for a male, you are the top of the heap. So I will point back to B. Benaderet and June Foray and Janet Waldo and ask you, so where, who, where, who? I'm not aware of a woman capable of doing what they did. I'm sure if there is one, you know who that is. Do you have women in your life who are able to do those voices?
Sure, and more. Candy Milo has been doing Granny for Looney Tunes even before June passed away. In fact, for the first, I don't know how many months or maybe even a year, Candy kept it quiet out of respect for June that she was doing this. My friend Lori Frazier had been doing Rocky the Flying Squirrel. But yeah, Debbie Derryberry. Oh my gosh, there's mentioned Candy, mentioned E.G. Daily. Oh gosh, Lorraine Newman. I mean, there are so many brilliant voiceover actresses. But here's the difference today. The ladies you mentioned, who were friends of mine, and I'm very, very blessed to be able to say friends of mine, June and Janet. and I never met B. Benaderet. I wish I had.
We
But
were little boys when she died.
yeah, but June and Janet came from radio, and there was this, and all of their contemporaries. They would be in a studio with Mel Blanc, but also with Lucille Ball, and also with Groucho Marx, and these and Gregory Peck, and these film actors, and it was live. And it was pure acting. Acting is reacting, and they're up there. And these are the ladies, June and Janet, who started TV animation, voiceover, and continued with it up until they passed. That coming from the 40s and 50s with radio, uh, I if I had a time machine, I'd go back there and just spend at least a week. Mel Blanc used to tell a story that Sunset and Vine, he used to just go from studio to studio to studio, like it just and walk up to the mic, do his bit, go to the next studio, walk up to the mic, do his bit. Cold, frozen. What a joyful.
Yes, no, I fully believe if you and I were back in those days,
Mhm.
we'd be even bigger stars than we are
Well, I gotta
because
that's where I met Joyce doing a benefit in Palm Springs where we did radio shows, and we did contemporary and we did classical, and it was just so much fun. It was as far as I'm concerned as acting can be.
I was fortunate during the last little bit of COVID before the shots started. Uh, they were recreating the Jack Benny program
Mm-hmm.
online with a new script,
Wow.
and the script was sent to me to vet it, and I helped the man who wrote it make it be a Jack Benny script
Wow.
and not, make it true to the characters and true to the way everybody spoke. And lo and behold, they asked me to play Jack,
How
and
fun.
I got to be Jack Benny in the Jack Benny program for 30 minutes. And
That's neat.
how much more fun is there in life?
That's neat. I wish I'd known I would have been Carmichael the Bear.
They didn't have Carmichael, but you would have been a better Rochester.
I don't know.
Trust me.
Okay,
You
all
would have
right.
been a better Rochester.
All right.
The Rochester we had, I won't mention anyone's names, but a little crystal meth was going on during the
Oh,
performance.
that's not good.
Not good at all.
That's not
Not good at all.
Okay.
And
Enough said.
it was live, so there was nothing we could do.
Ooh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's like, Rochester, and then I'm getting this. What did you just say? What?
Wow. Wow.
And he didn't sound like Rochester. He sounded more like Chris Rock.
Okay. Angry Rochester. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. So it was a bit, but it was what a joy to do radio.
Sure.
But it's funny because you're so handsome. But you'd be so good on radio.
Well, I when I crashed a recording session to watch Mel Blanc work when I was a kid, the man was in a double-breasted suit with a flower in his lapel. And afterwards, when I went up to talk to him, I said, "You always dress up for voiceover work?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, I always wear a tie. Sometimes I take off my jacket." And June always looked like she was going out for the evening when she would come to Warner Brothers to do a cartoon, because that's what you did. You dressed up for work.
And you know what?
Days of radio, they did it in front of a live audience. So they were actually up there representing, back, those are the days that ladies wore hats and gloves on the subway. So it was just a whole different time.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention, at least generically, you've had your share of hard knocks. Life has
Who
not
hasn't?
always been. Who hasn't? Indeed.
Yeah.
But you overcome some serious stuff. And yet, in all the time I've known you and all the time we've spoken, or I've never ever felt from you the teeniest bit of victimization, the teeniest bit of poor me, the teeniest bit of anything except, well, yeah, that happened and it's over. And what's for dinner? Where are we going? How much fun can we have?
Yeah. Well, my parents raised me to not be a victim. My parents raised me to not bellyache, to not I mean, I think social media is a wonderful tool, but it also makes tools out of wonderful people. And people are using it as electronic group therapy, looking for an pat on the back, and
Yeah.
all that is loser, 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 loser. Look at how much you could have accomplished in your life by being positive and productive, but you're just spending time complaining right now. And I don't know, life is short. We have limited time. Everybody has something. Get over it. Move on. Life's too short.
I would amend that, not get over it, get through it.
Oh,
Deal
yeah,
with it.
sure.
Deal with it.
But
Feel
don't
the
dwell on it.
emotions, deal with it,
Yeah, but don't
and
dwell on it.
and move on.
Yeah, don't invest in it more than you need to. But everybody's got something, Geoffrey. You know that.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got a whole book full of stuff that's coming out next year.
There you go.
But here we are, even the COVID thing, not easy for any of us,
Mhm.
no matter how foolish or stupid some people might be, not easy for any of us. And here we are, although we got some bad news today, there's another variant out there that may not, we may be in trouble again.
Right.
And if we are, we'll deal with it.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, this is not going away. I saw the Thanksgiving parade. It was delightful to see, but I'm looking, ooh, is that a super spreader we're looking at right there? It's kind of frightening, but you also have to live. You have to live your life. You can't spend 40 years in fear. And, this is weird times we're living in, but there's going to be more variants. There's going to be, because that's inevitable. That's what this thing is.
You and I share a lot of things, I think. We're tremendously ambitious men. Were you always that way?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So just
Yeah.
out of I was about to say out of the box, and I realized the dirty joke that would bring up. But
Well, I'll tell you, I've always been very, very driven and ambitious on what I want, and I've also been very dismissive about what I don't want. So
yeah,
if
me too.
it's something I don't want, I don't care. I don't hold on to too many things. If I have an audition, my goal is not to book the job. My goal is to have a great time at the mic with that audition. And if I book it, it's usually a week or two later, sometimes months later. And I'll have to go back. Well, first thing I ask my agent is, did I read for that? Because I forget it. Once I'm done reading, I'm done. I have to go back in my records and find. I'm doing a show next week or the week after that I actually booked in July of this year.
Wow.
And had to go back into my files and go, I don't remember even reading for this. And then I heard the character. I went, oh, I remember him. Okay, cool. Yep, he's that wacky janitor. Okay, cool. I got him. But I don't hold on to stuff. I'm a pretty positive person. But boy, I work harder to keep the career I've got than I did to get it.
Yes. I've been talking with friends, and I'm over 45
Mm-hmm.
and way over 45, and we've already answered that question, Gary, but thank you.
I love being married to Bill Asher. He snored, but other than that, it was a delight.
We answered that question with a different guest. And now I've forgotten what I was going to ask you. That's amazing.
That's okay. I blame Bill Asher.
Well, like this show,
Mm-hmm.
I don't sit here looking at a whole bunch of questions. Every show I do like this, where I'm interviewing somebody, how can I make this fun for both of us? What do I know that would be interesting? I don't work from notes, because if I'm looking at notes, I'm not looking at your handsome face or seeing your reactions or anything else like that. And the shows I do are more of a reaction between two people than a list of questions I want answers to.
Right. Well, we call it a conversation, which used to be what a chat show was. I spend my afternoons, if I'm still in my office, watching reruns of Decades, Dick Cavett, because the man, of course, had notes to ask questions, but they went on a journey with that conversation, where that's what a really good, and you're very good at what you do too.
Oh, thank you.
you're a good conversationalist because you're interested in people, and you might ask this, but all of a sudden the person goes there, like, well, that's cool too. So, but a lousy interviewer doesn't go follow the lead because they're not listening. They're going, I got to get this other question in.
Now, you and I have been on hundreds, if not thousands, of shows like this on TV and radio and platforms, and you can always tell that they're not listening to your answer. They're thinking about the next question.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's when I do what Milton Berle told me to do. He said, when you've got people like that, take over the show.
Mm-hmm.
Don't even allow them to ask the next question. Just you be funny and keep talking and take over because they don't know what they're doing.
Well, it's interesting you said that. I hosted a game show years ago, but I got the hosting agent who saw me on a talk show out of New York promoting the first Space Jam movie. And this agent called me up and said, you're really good on a talk show. Would you like representation for hosting? And I said, not really, but thank you. And then my voiceover agent said, don't be a schmuck. If they know your face, they can get you more for your voice.
True.
So the first thing they set me up on was the kids' version of Jeopardy called Jeff, which I booked. And then did nothing else, so I was a one hit. But that was when they stopped using hosts to host.
Right.
And they started using, hey, they've got a sitcom. Hey, they're a movie star, so I got in at the tail end of the traditional.
They stopped using broadcasters.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Do you, though I would guess the one area that you have not spent a whole lot of time on is on camera acting or on stage acting. Do you have any sort of itch to do that?
It's interesting. I did. Back in the 80s, I did a lot of sitcoms and soaps, but it got in the way of my voiceover career. And this was before home studios. So I had to be able to go to the agent's office or the studio to audition or work. It's creatively, I would love to do a sitcom. I would love to do a traditional 4-camera sitcom with a live audience, which is most of the on camera I had done in the past. And that's purely from a creative standpoint. I tell my students, take off your actor hat, put on your agent hat. I'm not sellable for on camera. I don't have my most recent on camera work, I think, was The Facts of Life in 1982. So that's not going to sell me if you have tape. So I would need a really good agent and somebody really, really who's got the clout to say, just see him without having the goods to sell. So the answer to your question is, from a creative standpoint, yes, but from a realistic standpoint, I know I'm not an easy sell, no matter how ambitious I would be to do that. But if somebody's interested, I'm available.
So there could be My Favorite Bob Bergen, or I Dream of Bob Bergen, or I Love Bob Bergen, or My Little Bob Bergen, or
Sure.
any of those things.
Leave it to Bergen. I don't care. Yeah.
Is there anything, because we're just at the end of this show here. I can't believe it. It's so much fun with you. Next time in LA, we must have dinner together.
Yes, we will. We will. Absolutely.
Well, this in December, I'll be in town twice, so we'll work that out off camera. Is there anything coming up you want to plug, or let our friends know to watch out for? Or
yeah, we're still doing the HBO Max Looney Tunes cartoons. I'm doing a couple of other new Looney Tunes series that NDA can't talk about yet. Ridley Jones is a great kids show on Netflix. Season 2 just started airing. I did a show called The Bad Batch for Disney Plus, where I played a really cool villain, and a whole bunch of stuff I can't talk about because we have NDAs. And that, by the way, that's a new thing. And if anybody's watching this who wants to get into voiceover, you treat every job as if you signed an NDA, even if you didn't.
NDA is a non-disclosure agreement for those who don't know what we're talking about.
Yes.
Gosh, you're working so much, dinner is on you.
Okay, you got it. You got it.
You are a pleasure, sir. I thank you for being here.
My pleasure, my friend. You're very good at what you do, and anytime.
Well, you're the top of the heap. I've said it 3 times because I honestly believe it, and I adore you as a person. So thank you for being here a lot.
Good to see you.
It's good to see you too. So take Bob out, leave me in. There's something I want to say to our friends before we say goodnight tonight. It has been an honor and a pleasure for me to be here with you the last few months while Gary Allen has taken care of some personal issues. As far as I know, this is my last show of the series with you guys. I'll probably be on again hosting a show. maybe on this platform someplace, maybe on another platform someplace. Gary has asked me to tell you that he's taking 2 weeks off. These next 2 Fridays, there will be no Mainstreet show. And then Gary will be back with you in 2 weeks with his own brand of talk show. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for sticking with the show. Thank you for your prayers for Gary. I know he appreciates it. He was never his life was never in jeopardy. It wasn't that kind of illness. It's one of those things where it's like, ooh, ouch, you got to take care of it, and then I'll be fine. So Gary is real close to being almost fine again, and he'll be back with you. I hope wherever I work next as a talk show host, you will be gracious enough to come on with me and have some fun. I want to thank our producer person, tech person, Tom, who has made all of this possible for us. And from the bottom of my heart, God bless and have a happy.